What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Big Fight Field channel, and happy NFL Draft Day, man. The first day of the NFL Draft is tonight from Kansas City. Usually, I'm excited for the first round. I'm hyped for the draft to see who my team is going to take. But for the second year in a row, man, the Miami Dolphins do not have a number one. They do not have a first round pick. Last year, they traded away the first round pick to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Tyreek Hill trade, and now this year they got their first round pick taken away from them. So there's only 31 first round picks this year. That's because the Dolphins got caught. They got caught with Tom Brady. I can't think of the word right now, but you know what I mean. So they don't have a first round pick. It got it taken away from them. So they're not picking until round 2 with the 51st overall pick. So that's when the Dolphins are going to draft. Obviously, 2021 was a great draft. They took Jalen Waddle. They took Jalen Phillips. They took Javon Holland in the second round. And those three guys are key pieces to our team right now. And I'm just here to talk some football today, man. A lot's going on. We have some crazy amount of competition in the AFC East now. The AFC East is the best division in the NFL, and it's not even close. I want to talk about Dalvin Cook, rumors with the Miami Dolphins, and then finally, I want to talk about some positions that I think the Dolphins should be targeting in this year's NFL draft. So if you haven't already, man, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, be sure to go check out my latest video on the Philadelphia 76ers. They defeat the Brooklyn Nets in Game 4. That video was on Saturday. It'll appear in the last 20 seconds of the video. It'll pop up on the screen. All you have to do is click it, and it'll pop up right there for you. And I might be back tomorrow with a Sixers video, depending what happens tonight between the Boston Celtics and the Atlanta Hawks. I could be back for another video tomorrow, breaking down the second round series between the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. If I'm not back tomorrow, that means that the Atlanta Hawks defeated the Boston Celtics, and Game 7 is going to be played Saturday night, which would honestly be fantastic for the 76ers and Joel Embiid. The NBA playoffs have been crazy so far, man. Last night was insane. The Miami Heat defeat the number 1 seed Milwaukee Bucks in 5 games, man. They absolutely dominated that series. Jimmy Butler is unbelievable. They're going to play the New York Knicks in the second round of the NBA playoffs. We also have the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets matched up in the second round already. And we have Game 6 Friday night between Sacramento and Golden State and Memphis and the Los Angeles Lakers. So a lot going on in the NBA, man. And also, for all my baseball content, be sure to follow me on TikTok. Let's get to this, man. That's a cheap plug, by the way. Let's get to this. A lot going on. Talk about the AFC East first. So I feel like that's really big. On Monday, the New York Jets finalized the trade with the Green Bay Packers, and Aaron Rodgers is officially a Jet. And you know what, man? If I'm being completely honest with you, I'm kind of terrified. I'm pretty scared about this trade. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just searching up the trade details. I can't remember it in my head right now. But let me try to find these details. searching through Twitter real quick. Sorry, I'm keeping you guys waiting real quick, man. Here we go. The New York Jets get Aaron Rodgers, this year's 15th pick in the first round, a 2023 fifth-round pick, and the Packers get the number 13 overall pick this year, a second-round pick, a sixth-round pick this year, a conditional 2024 second-round pick that becomes a first if Rodgers plays 65% of the plays. So if Rodgers plays most of the years, the Green Bay Packers are getting a first-round pick next year from the New York Jets. Honestly, I think it's a great trade for both sides. If I'm being honest with you, as an honest NFL fan, it's a great trade for both sides. Aaron Rodgers did not want to be in Green Bay anymore. His time was running out. They did not make the playoffs last year. His time was running out in Green Bay. Green Bay drafted Jordan Love in the 2020 NFL draft, and he's barely played because he sat behind Aaron Rodgers for 3 years in a row. And you got to do something with him. So it's best for both parties because the Jets, let's be honest, with a top quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, they're probably a top 5 team in the NFL, a top 10, top 5 team in the NFL, which I'm about to talk about in a little bit. And the Green Bay Packers, they're looking ahead for the future. I think this is going to be a year for the Green Bay Packers where they are evaluating Jordan Love, seeing if he's the guy long term. I really think it's going to be a rebuilding year over in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers no longer being there. The schedules come out in 2 weeks, so we'll have a better idea then. But yeah, for the AFC East, this sucks. As a Miami Dolphins fan, this sucks. And the Jets last year showed what they were capable of on the defensive side of the football. The Jets had a top 5 defense in the NFL last year. Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, Quinn Williams, Shaq Lawson. Their defense was absolutely stacked. They had a top 5 defense in the NFL last year, and all they needed was a good offense. And last year, Zach Wilson was running the ship, and New York fans cannot stand that guy. Mike White got a couple games, and it was a point where Chris Streveler had to come in and play for Zach Wilson. Joe Flacco played the last week of the season against the Miami Dolphins for the Jets instead of Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is still the backup for the New York Jets, but Zach Wilson clearly was a bust in the 2021 NFL draft with the second overall pick. That's who the Jets decided to take over the likes of Trey Lance, who we really haven't seen a lot of, and I don't know what his future is either. Mac Jones, Justin Fields. They passed up on those guys for Zach Wilson, and it bit the Jets in the ass. And now he's going to be the backup quarterback for Aaron Rodgers, who's the new quarterback. And honestly, Jets fans are all excited, as they should be. This is probably the first time since 2011 that they actually have a shot at a championship. And their team's loaded. They needed to fix up the offense this year, and they did that. They brought in Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be a Hall of Famer when he retires. So they're bringing in a Hall of Fame quarterback who probably has 2 to 3 years left in him. They brought in some new wide receivers to match up with Garrett Wilson. They have Alan Lazard, who was on the same team as Aaron Rodgers, so they're now linked up. McCole Hardman's on the Jets. This team, they're really good, man. Garrett Wilson, McCole Hardman, Alan Lazard, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore's on the Browns, so he's not on the team anymore. They don't have Braxton Berrios anymore. Obviously, he's on the Dolphins. Tyler Conklin and C.J. Uzomah are their tight ends. As a Dolphins fan, I'm nervous, man. And if I'm being frank, I don't think anybody should be counting out the Dolphins. They have a ridiculous roster. That possibly got better this year with Jalen Ramsey and adding Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator. I really think is going to help out the Miami Dolphins this season coming up, because already we're going to talk about it in about 2 weeks when the NFL draft, when the NFL schedule comes out, the Miami Dolphins have the hardest schedule in the NFL, and their schedule is brutal. But I'm going to wait for 2 weeks to talk about that. But they have an absolutely brutal schedule. They didn't have the hardest schedule in the NFL before the Aaron Rodgers trade. Now that Aaron Rodgers is on the Jets, they have to play the Jets twice a year, along with the Buffalo Bills twice a year, along with teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens, the Chargers. Ridiculous, man. A ridiculous schedule for the Miami Dolphins, and it's going to be a hard task. It's going to be a hard task this year for the Dolphins. It really is. And if I'm being frank with you, I don't think anybody should be counting out the Dolphins. But if we're talking about best teams in the AFC East, I'm saying number 1 is the Bills. I'm saying number 2 is the Jets. Number 3 is the Dolphins. And number 4 is the Patriots. That's just the way I see it. I hope I'm wrong. There's a long way to go for the football season. I'm not even putting my 100% focus on the NFL right now, because my 100% focus is on Sixers basketball. It's on Sixers basketball right now. And then when their season's over, I kind of take a reset, man, because it's only baseball season. You know, you watch the Phillies every night. But you still have to wait 3 months until baseball season. And then when preseason comes around, that's when I kick into the next year. Is the start of preseason, the start of training camp. That's when we lock in. But Aaron Rodgers is a Jet, man, and honestly, I'm pretty scared. I'm not lying with you guys. The Jets, I said this last year. During the 2022 season when the Jets had their 6-game losing streak to lose a playoff spot. The Jets are 1 quarterback away. The Jets are 1 quarterback away from being a really good team in the AFC. And now upon the already stacked AFC, now you have the Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets, Cincinnati, Baltimore. I think Cleveland might have a bounce back year. I'm not sure. First full year with Deshaun Watson. The Jaguars. The Texans in the future. The Colts in the future. I think the Colts are going to probably stink this year. Same with the Texans. But in a couple of years, those teams are going to be back. The Jaguars. The Chiefs. The Chargers. The AFC is absolutely loaded. And if the Dolphins, it's not going to happen, but if the Dolphins, let's say they're an NFC team, I would realistically say that the Dolphins are a top 3 team in the NFC, behind the Eagles, and they're possibly better than the 49ers going into this year. But the AFC is loaded, man. The AFC is absolutely loaded, and it's going to be really hard, I think. The main and I'm going to preach this until the season starts. The main thing about this year is the health of Tua Tagovailoa, because we need him. You saw the clear difference in the Dolphins when Tua was on the field to when Tua was not on the field. When Tua was not on the field, the Dolphins went 1-4. When Tua was on the field, the Dolphins were 8-4 last year. All the losses were in December, but 8-4 is still a pretty damn good record. And he means something to this team. If when he's not playing, the team sucks, and that's what happened all last year. Tua didn't play for 5 games. The team lost 4 of them. He needs to be healthy. That's the main priority this season. Because if it's the Dolphins picked up his 5th-year option. They picked up his 5th-year option this offseason too. So he is absolutely our quarterback this year. And he is our quarterback next year too. So we are in the era of Tua this season and next season, because we picked up his 5th-year option. And then we go from there. Are we going to pay him long-term? Are we going to give him a short-term deal? Or are we going to let him walk? I don't know. But the Dolphins have a 2-year... I think they have a 2 to 3 year window of winning a championship. And in these next 3 years, they need to win a Super Bowl. And if they don't, they got to start all over. That's going to hurt. Let's talk about Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook rumors are heating up. And there's been a lot of talk about Mr. Dalvin Cook all off season long. He doesn't want to be in Minnesota. The Minnesota Vikings are looking to shop Dalvin Cook. And if they can't find a trade partner for Dalvin Cook, they're going to release Dalvin Cook. And apparently, Dalvin Cook's number 1 trade destination is the Miami Dolphins. Makes sense. Played college ball at Florida State. He's a Florida boy. The Dolphins are really good. The Vikings are good too, but they're not as good. They're not as stacked as the Miami Dolphins are. But the Vikings maybe they aren't paying them. The Dolphins have the same exact running back room as they did last year. They brought everybody back. The only free agent running back, the only running back on our roster from last year that wasn't a free agent was Savon Ahmed. They bring back Myles Gaskin. They bring back Jeff Wilson. They bring back Raheem Mostert to a 2-year deal. So right now, the Dolphins have the same running back room as they did last year. And the Dolphins were a bottom 10 run offense last year under Mike McDaniel, who's supposed to be a running game specialist, a running game wizard. Would I like the Dolphins to bring in Dalvin Cook? I don't know. Honestly, I'm not so sure about this one. And the reason I say this is because, number 1, I want to see what happens with the draft. I want to see if they draft a running back. Number 2, they're going to have to pay another superstar a big load of money. They already have their hands full paying Tyreek Hill, paying Bradley Chubb, paying Jalen Ramsey, paying all these great guys, these big names that they brought in this year and last year. If you bring in Dalvin Cook to a huge deal, more than likely, you're not re-signing Christian Wilkins. More than likely, we got a long way to go, but when the time comes to having to sign Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, and Javon Holland, one of them is going to have to leave. Because at that point, if you don't have the money, you're not going to be able to afford all three of those guys. That's what I'm saying, man. You need to win a championship in the next 3 years because you might not have one of those three. Tyreek Hill's already talking about retirement. You might not have the window anymore. This is your window. Your 2 to 3 year window for the Dolphins to win the championship. Last year was the first year. Last year was your first year at that crack in the window, and you were eliminated first round in the playoffs. Dalvin Cook is a great running back. Don't get me wrong. Dalvin Cook's a really good running back in the NFL. Top 10 running back. But if this means not paying Christian Wilkins, I'm not willing to do it. I would rather roll the dice with another year of Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson rather than paying Dalvin Cook a boatload of money and not bringing back Christian Wilkins. I would rather have Wilkins on my team than I would Dalvin Cook. But we'll see, man. We'll see what happens with Cook. We'll see if he's going to be a Miami Dolphin sooner rather than later. I wouldn't complain. I wouldn't be, oh my God, what the fuck is Greer doing? What is Stephen Ross doing? And wouldn't make me that mad. But I'm just thinking in the back of my mind, if we pay Cook this much amount of money, what are we doing with Wilkins? So, and then finally, the NFL draft is tonight. The Dolphins, they're not picking till tomorrow, but some positions that they should be looking out for and trying to get in the draft. Number one on my list is the tight end. They lost Mike Gesicki in the offseason. Unfortunately, he's with our rivals, the New England Patriots. And right now, our number one tight end is Durham Smythe. They brought in Eric Saubert from the Denver Broncos, but Durham Smythe is not going to get it done. As the number one tight end on this Dolphins offense, you need to draft someone this year. I think the perfect fit is, for a tight end for this team, Darnell Washington. He's big, he's strong, he's lengthy, and he can go up and get the ball, man. For this team, he would be a huge addition for the Miami Dolphins if they were able to pick him. So the number one position on my list is a tight end. That's a huge priority for me. Another big priority for me is getting the right tackle. I know I didn't watch it, but I've seen tweets of Greer saying Austin Jackson's really working hard. Austin Jackson's putting in the work with all this training, and the plan is for Austin Jackson to be the starting right tackle in the offseason. That's the plan. Great. He's putting in training. He's trying to get better. He's doing the work. I love to hear that. Austin Jackson, though, I'm not going to believe it until I see him on the field. And when I've seen him on the field for the past couple seasons, for the past 3 years, he's been absolutely trash. And on a year when our quarterback is coming off of not one, not two, but 3 concussions, I do not want somebody like Austin Jackson being the right tackle for our quarterback who's coming off 3 concussions. He's the blind side tackle for our quarterback because our quarterback's a lefty. So either you need to draft a tackle, sign a veteran to a 1-year deal who can get the job done, or they're going to roll the dice with Austin Jackson, which I'm not thrilled with. I'm not thrilled with at all. What other positions could the Dolphins draft during the draft this weekend? Maybe a running back. Maybe they add another linebacker. You know, it's another one that I wouldn't mind? A kicker. We don't know what's going on with Jason Sanders. We don't know if Jason Sanders is going to be the starting kicker this year. But Jason Sanders had a really bad year last year. And yeah, he came in clutch during the final game of the regular season against the Jets. He came in clutch for sure. But you can't just hand him over the job after the year we had last year. You can't just be like, hey, Jason, congrats, you're the starting kicker right at the start of training camp. You can't do that. At minimum, you draft a kicker, and you have that kicker compete with Jason Sanders, and then at the end of the preseason, when you have to make all your cuts, that's when you cut Jason Sanders, because you be like, hey, your services are not needed here anymore. We have our kicker, and if we're able to draft the kicker, great. But if I'm the Dolphins, I'm not handing over Jason Sanders the starting kicking job after the year we had last year. So that's all I got. That's all the insight. That's all the talk I have for the Dolphins. I had the draft this weekend after the trade with the Aaron Rodgers trade to the Jets. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in the NFL. The NFL drafts tonight. The schedule comes out in 2 weeks, and then it's basically a dead period again until training camp starts late July. So I'm getting on out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you have not already, be sure to subscribe to the Big Fight Field channel. I may or may not be back with a video tomorrow. If the Celtics do win tonight, I will be back tomorrow. If not, I won't be filming a video tomorrow. I'll be waiting until the Celtics and the Atlanta Hawks series conclude. If I had to guess, I will be here with a video. I do think the Boston Celtics are going to win tonight. And we'll be here to talk about the second round between the 76ers and the Boston Celtics. So be sure to subscribe, comment down below, hit the like button, follow me on Twitter at @Colin_Joseph. I'm going to be tweeting during the NFL draft, during the NBA playoffs, during SmackDown tomorrow night with the WWE draft. If anything big happens, there's a lot going on this weekend, man. So thank you guys so much. I will catch you in the next one. Have a good day. Stay safe. And as always, stay classy, man. I'm out. Peace.